All right, y'all. Hello, everyone. Let me get the PowerPoint started. Thank y'all so much for taking time out of your break to meet with us. Let me, I think, move this guy. Okay. Today is December 14th, 2021, and I call this meeting to order at 1:03 p.m. Alrighty, so we are meeting virtually. Thank you again for tuning in for our special session. Some kind of reminders. Remember to speak clearly, slowly, and directly into the mic. Of course, since we're home, hopefully we have our mics muted, and of course, one speaker at a time. And let's start roll call. I can have Secretary Schulte help us out.
All right, can y'all hear me? Okay. Senator Shiloh. Senator Brown is not with us. Senator McDowell.
Present.
Oh shoot, no I can't. Sorry guys. Senator Allen. I think they joined, but we'll come back just in case. Senator Lee.
Here.
Senator Banerjee. Senator Castellanos.
Here.
Senator Gillis.
Here.
Senator Guevara.
Here.
Senator Johnson. Senator McFarland. Senator Mosley. Senator Van Voris. Sophia, you there? I see you.
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
my mic's not working.
You're good. Senator M.
Here.
Senator Cowell.
Here.
Senator Schulte here. Senator Quibantoro. Okay. So that's... Did we get Lauren? Senator Allen?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. My network cut out as soon as I tried to say present.
No, you're good.
Alrighty.
So that's 9.
Awesome, and we have quorum. Alrighty, since we're meeting virtually, and I know a lot of us, it's been a hot minute. To be recognized, please use the raise hand feature, top of your screen, if you're on a desktop, and of course, at the bottom if you're using a mobile device. Let's have one speaker at a time. If we're not recognized or anything, please have your mics muted, just so we don't have anything interfering. And then senators, please use the chat feature if you're stepping out of the meeting for a quick second, and then text like, hey, I'm back, just so we know. But yes, so let's go over our agenda for today. We have executive reports. For new business, we have consideration of our communications director, an amendment to the election commissioner's wage, and we have F 2021 B7 emergency status, announcements and adjournment. And we'll start with executive reports. Devin, if you're on the call.
Yeah, thank you. So it's obviously been a little while since our last meeting, so I have a little bit to go over. Sorry, I just ran from the garage. So we of course got a communications director nominated. I'm setting up a time to interview with a candidate for the election board commissioner. We did have an election board member candidate, but that unfortunately didn't work out. So if you know anyone who's interested in the election board, please feel free to send them to the application. Oh, I've been following up with Bob. This year's legislation, but also the previous year's legislation. If you look at our legislation website, you will see an updated column for the legislation. So you'll have the legislation in one column, and then its associated update next to it. I'm going to try to do that for the previous year as well, and the year before that if I can. Obviously, this year's can't take priority, but as we go throughout the winter break, I'm going to be trying to address some of this older legislation and follow up on it to make sure that they're being addressed if they haven't already been addressed. And as part of that, I pulled up which was the Kalani Henderson resolution. Eve Shatine Bell, who's the Title IX coordinator, has established a Title IX or a committee to review Title IX policies and regulations. And so we're looking to put students on there. If you or someone you know is interested in being on that committee, please let me know. Y'all might have seen my memo, but F2021B2 was removed from the homepage of the website, but a copy of that can be found in the legislation section of the website and also still on our social media accounts. Those will never go away. The Supreme Court had its first meeting, and the Chief Justice is officially Christian Inbisk. Christian was actually an intern last year, so it's pretty cool that we have a former intern as the Chief Justice. But that's been done, and the Supreme Court will meet as necessary should something come up. What else here? Again, sorry, I'm still trying to go through my stuff here. The commission had its meeting last week, and we have another one coming up this week. So far, we're almost done with Article 4, but we still have some ways to go on that, and we're going to be addressing Article 5 next. We're making some pretty good progress there, and we look forward to being wrapped up on that. We're looking at doing a partnership or like a competition with UT Austin for a voter registration competition. We're looking at that for being late January, but we still need to get some of the details figured out, and we need to make sure that's something that we can actually agree to before we actually implement it. Outside of that, it's mostly been a lot of just, cleaning, organizing, consolidating in the office. We want to spend this time during the break to make sure that we're catching up on stuff that needs to be caught up on, but also making sure that we're ready for the next semester. And so we're getting some of that cleaning done now, or at least organizing. And we're also going to be doing planning, but most of that's going to occur in January. But we've done a little bit of that now, but we have a ways to go on that. I think that's about all I've got. I know that was a little bit, but does anyone have any questions about anything that I mentioned in my report?
All right, there's no any questions. Thank you, Devin. All right, it's now my turn to give a report. So I've been spending time updating records. Hopefully soon we'll have our voting records for the whole semester. I know we have them in our minutes, but I want to make one just for the semester like we've done in the past. Devin's helping me with Excel since Excel is interesting. I do have 2 Senate appointments. I was looking forward to have them ready for today, but we'll have them ready for the spring. super excited. They're eager to get started and in constant communication. So hopefully we'll have them ready for the spring. I've been preparing stuff for the spring, and for our officers for the spring and how it's going to look a little bit different. I don't think there's really much on my end. A lot of it's been chill since finals are finally done. But do y'all have any questions for me? Andy, go ahead.
Did you say you've been preparing stuff for the officers for the spring?
Yes. I know Senator Banerjee was saying she would like a couple of supporting stuff, especially around committee stuff. It's nothing too major. It's just for a couple things. It's just mainly that. Trying to think if there's anything else. A lot of it's just internal stuff. But other than that, that's pretty much it. But it's not finalized yet. Any other questions for me? If not, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Let me get my PowerPoint. I believe we have consideration of our communications director for Collin. I believe Collin is on the call. But before we go on, Devin, you can someone recognize Devin to speak? Andy?
I move to recognize the president to speak.
And then Luke?
There are M seconds.
All right, awesome. Devin, you have the floor.
Thank you, thank you. I don't know that Bella's in the call, but I can go and do the disclosure report. So Collin is actually the communications director for UNC College Democrats, which Bella is the president of. Bella had a limited role in assisting with the selection of the communication director for nomination for SGA. She wasn't involved in the interview or anything like that. It was mostly just working on, what we should be looking for in a communications director and stuff like that. And I believe they're also roommates as well. And I've had limited interaction with Collin in the past, but I don't think enough that would have made a difference in my decision making. To the best of my knowledge, there aren't any other conflicts of interest with the executive branch.
All righty. Hello, Collin. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are y'all? Can y'all hear and see me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like my video might be blurry, but maybe that's just me.
Yes, it's probably my computer. So the floor is yours to kind of give your case why you believe would be a great candidate to be communications director. The floor is all yours.
Perfect. Well, hi everyone. My name is Collin Renfro. I'm a senior. My major is public relations, and I'm minoring in social science. I kind of wanted to give a definition, or like my definition of public relations, because I think sometimes people don't understand what that is or how that might relate to communications and such. So PR to me has like two little definitions. The first would be reputation management. So for SGA is concerned, that would be, maintain a favorable image for the organization through social media use and through any type of relationship with media outlets in Denton, in this area. And then kind of another definition would be looking at earned media. So if you think of like advertising or marketing as paid media, public relations or like a communications position such as this one would be earned media. So that's going to be, again, like social media use and keeping those connections with media outlets. I see social media kind of as a tool that I think that we can use to reach audiences and share information. I think I understand how to use social media effectively to reach audiences, which, of course, in this case would be UNT students. I think I know how to appeal to those audiences. So obviously, I am the communications director for UNT College Democrats as well. And, I've run some other successful social media accounts for other organizations, such as Students for Sensible Drug Policy here at UNT, and Being Raised for Animals, as well as just like personal accounts and that kind of thing. And I think I know how to use like a specific voice for each of those organizations, a professional voice for each of those organizations. I also have experience using things like Canva to create graphics. I have a lot of experience with writing copy using AP style and grammar. And a lot of that has come from, my coursework like as a journalism and a PR student. I also have some just like management or like customer service experience, which I think can like relate to this job. Just again, it's like that professional communication, speaking with others, communicating digitally, social media, email, those kind of things. As far as like what I think I can bring to the table for SGA in this role, I think there are some things such as like the website being updated with like appropriate pictures, like new pictures on the website. I kind of want SGA to have like a bigger personality, if that makes sense. I think it's like easy for any organization, especially like a political organization, to look kind of like stagnant or like boring even. But I think that, it's important to like even like bring a little sense of like humor into it so that we can relate to just like the average student. Let's see what else. I do have a few like unique certifications that I think are kind of cool. So I have a grammar foundation certification that I took through LinkedIn. So that was like a course I did. And then another one through an organization called City Program. And so I got a social and behavioral research certification. So those are cool like communication certifications that I think I'm getting a lot of new like skills and experiences along with those. And then just personally, like career goal of mine is to work in the music industry. And I want to do communications in the music industry, like publicity type of stuff, social media has always been a big interest of mine. I think overall, just my experience with coursework, as a PR student and, volunteering for like other roles through other organizations at UNT, I think I've gained a lot of experience, a lot of skills and knowledge that will help me ultimately to become, a successful communications director for SGA. I think so.
Alrighty. Would someone like to recognize Bella to speak?
That's not necessary, Mr. Speaker.
Alrighty. Then Ethan, you are recognized.
Senator Gillis moves that we go to a period of questioning.
Is there a second? You don't have to read. You can just unmute yourself.
McDowell seconds.
Alrighty. It's been moved and seconded. Ethan, go ahead.
Hi, so thanks so much for being with us today, Collin. I really appreciate it. I just had a quick question for you.
Sure.
Let's say, hypothetically, if you're given this position, you have some kind of conflict with someone else on the executive staff. How would you go about resolving that conflict?
I think like I'd hope that they would be comfortable coming to speak with me about it, or that I would be comfortable speaking in with about it. I've worked in a lot of like team situations at other jobs. I think just like the big thing to me is like opening that line of communication. So I think I would first like try to resolve it with that person instead of like blowing it out of proportion to something bigger. And if it had to come to it, I guess getting President Skinner involved with it, I guess, if I had to, but I definitely don't want to, I would want to diffuse the situation, like work with the person that I had the conflict with first.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I
Did I answer your
appreciate it.
question? Okay.
Alrighty, go ahead, Andy.
Hello. Do you think you could keep the voice of the SGA and the College Democrats separate? Because I know you're in pretty much the same position for both organizations. And so do you think you could keep those voices separate, which I think is really important? And if you could, how would you go about doing that?
Sure. So I do agree with you that it is important to have separate voices because they serve separate roles, and they have even like separate audiences at times. College Democrats and SGA, and so I think with SGA, I would definitely be a little bit more professional and keep any of my own like personal ideas or like political beliefs out of it, and really try to represent SGA and of course like the senators and all that. Try to represent all of us like together. Yeah, did I answer your question, or did you have like anything else?
Even if you kept your political beliefs out of it, do you think you could keep the voice different? Because you were talking about how you wanted the SGA to develop a personality, which I think you may have also done with the UNT Democrats. So I'm wondering if you can keep those personalities separate and distinct, and if so, how you would do that.
Yeah, I think I certainly can. I do have like some ideas for like SGA. I'm just like kind of having a voice to where we're more like relatable to the student body. We're more like active and engaging them. I think doing that like professionally is like the best idea.
All right,
Thank
Bella. Bella, go ahead. That was my bad.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, is my sound quality better than Collin's or no?
Yes.
Okay, let me give him my computer so y'all can hear him more clearly. How does that sound? Okay.
Scene change. But Bella, you have the floor. Bella, can you hear me?
I'm not sure if she actually wanted to speak. I'm not sure.
Okay. If not, then Rachel, go ahead.
All right. Can y'all hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So my question was, sorry, my cat's trying to eat my microphone. Move. Okay. My question, because you're in the communications role and you were talking about developing a personality, kind of showcasing what we are, I wonder if you have any ideas or strategies for representing voices that are different from you, because we are a very diverse group from lots of different majors, different interests. So I just wonder if you have any specific ways that you're going to try and represent all of the SGA, not just the people who are similar to you?
Yeah, so I think there's opportunities to like spotlight each senator at times, kind of what y'all's interests are, what y'all are involved with. I think, part of that is like getting to know each other. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. Not, I don't know. I think my question is really just like, how will you represent like the diversity, not just like each senator, but I don't know. You pretty much got it.
Sure.
Any other questions for Collin? If not, any other motions?
Mr.
Yes.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
My question is, we've had a lot of turnover in this position.
Mhm.
Do you think you can commit for the rest of the year to serving in this position and doing what it takes to succeed as communications director?
Absolutely. It's my senior year, it's my last semester, but I'm definitely excited for the role. If I, am confirmed, I don't have, luckily I don't have a ton of difficult coursework this semester. And, if I am confirmed, I do work now, but if I am confirmed, I will, put in my 2 weeks with that other job so that I can really focus and divert as much of my attention to the role.
Thank you.
Any other questions or motions on the floor? Senator Brown.
Senator Brown moves to a period of closed discussion.
Is there a second?
Senator
McDowell
Gillis seconds.
All right, Collin. We are now in a period of closed discussion. I'm gonna stop spotlighting you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the meeting, and we'll call you back whenever we made a decision.
Okay. I'll leave on Bellis too, just so.
Yes. Alrighty. We're now in a period of closed discussion. Senator Brown, you have the first discussion point.
I don't know. I like him. He seems energetic about the position and seems to have a good handle on what he needs to do for it.
Senator McDowell.
I'm concerned about the fact that he would be serving it as communication director for both us and UNT Democrats. I think it's very natural for people to consolidate what they're doing and think the same way when they're in the same situation. And what I don't want is sort of that consolidation where people start to think of us as a more political organization rather than a organization that is dedicated to students at UNT.
Senator Schulte.
If no one has any, I guess, counter arguments to Collin being our communications director, Senator Schulte moves to a period of voting.
Is there a second?
McDowell seconds.
All right, does anyone object? All right, we're in a period of voting. Just to make this easier, Senator Schulte, I'm gonna do a roll call for you. Senator Shiloh. Senator Brown.
Aye.
Senator McDowell.
No.
Senator Allen.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Castellanos.
Aye.
Senator Gillis.
Aye.
Senator Guevara,
Aye.
Senator McFarland,
Aye.
Senator Van Voris,
Aye.
Senator M,
Aye.
Senator Cowell,
No.
Senator Schulte.
Aye.
I believe we have a 2/3 threshold, and Collin is our new communications director. Gavels my knuckles. Alrighty, let me get Collin back in the call.
I can call him in if you want.
Awesome. Alrighty. Senator Schulte, oh, never mind. Your hand's still raised. Do you want to be recognized? You're good? Alrighty.
No, sorry.
Okay. In the meantime, let's move on to the next item until they pop in. We have, the next item is an amendment to the election board commissioner's wage. That was introduced by Devin. Let me get that pulled up. Let me move these guys. But Devin, if you're on the call, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, this isn't legislation per se, but I'll go and read it as if it were, just so everyone's on the same page. Whereas the president introduced the wages and responsibilities of the election commissioner as approved by the Senate on September 15th, 2021, and as required by Article 5, Section 1, subsection A of the bylaws. Whereas in the approved document, the wages for the election commissioner were established as the following. The election commissioner shall be paid $8 per hour for 10 hours out of every week for a maximum of 10 weeks in the 2021-2022 administrative year. Whereas 10 weeks assumed that there would be a general election in the fall of 2021, which was not necessary due to the lack of any constitutional amendments or special elections requiring an election commissioner. Whereas scheduling and other time off for staff has resulted in a surplus of wages funds, which these senior staff have been working to reallocate in a responsible and appropriate way. Whereas the Commission on SGA Governing Documents plans on introducing sweeping updates to the Constitution of the SGA, requiring a public referendum and a general election of the SGA, which would add to the regular workload of the election commissioner in a given week. Therefore, with the advice and consent of the Senate, it is ordered that the wages of the election commissioner be amended as follows. The election commissioner shall be paid $9.25 per hour for 15 hours out of every week for a maximum of 7 weeks in the 2021-2022 administrative year. So from Devin Skinner. Essentially, just kind of provide some context. Well, sorry. We had a lot of money left over. There were some staff hour changes. No one lost hours. We just added some. And the election commissioner was a part of that, but we can't just make that change without the Senate's approval. And we felt that an increase in the pay wouldn't hurt anyone. It would be a benefit to that person. And it's a way that we can spend that money in a good way, that in the leftover money that we have.
Alrighty. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator McDowell?
I move to a period of questioning.
Is there a second?
Senator Allen seconds.
Awesome. Senator McDowell, you have the first question.
So please correct me if I'm wrong, but before the total payment for the election commissioner would be $800 maximum for the 21-22 year, and now it's about $971 for the 21-22 year. I was just wondering where that money's coming from, if we could understand a little more about the hour issue.
Well, so there's a few things happened. We needed to, I don't recall if Matthew was nominated before or after the new fiscal year started, but it's possible that played a role. I know that there's some staff who had to take mental health days. I know I did. And then the for staff to meet wages or the number of hours allocated fluctuates week to week, position to position. And so naturally, you're going to have some of that leftover wages fund in there. And so just kind of some of that excess builds up over time throughout the semester. And so we found that we had enough money to do this. It isn't a significant increase within the context of we have something like was it $55,000 to $60,000 in wages. And so we felt like this was something that we could reasonably do while leaving enough money for the next administration, which is something that Casey, David, and I were working hard on. And Casey was very good at holding us accountable to making sure that we were taking into consideration the next administration as well.
A follow-up question, Mr. Speaker.
All right, go ahead.
So just to clarify, this money's only coming out of the wage portion of our budget and not the expenditure portion of our budget where we would buy things for events and things like that.
Right, and we would not be able to, under policy, I mean, that's a university allocated, well, not allocated, but well, sort of. SSF has different line items, and there's a certain amount of money that's dedicated to wages and can only be spent on wages. And there's a certain amount of money that's dedicated to M&O, maintenance and operations, that can only be spent on M&O. So we wouldn't be able to take something from our M&O part of the budget and move it to the wages section and vice versa. And so just by nature of how this all works, it would have to come from the wages portion of our budget.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right, Senator Allen.
Yes, do we have anyone currently holding the position for elections officer?
There's one person who's applied for election commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was gonna. There's one person who applied for election commissioner. That person hasn't been nominated by me yet. We still need to have an interview. But if there's any other applications, we'll consider those equally until the point in which we've decided to make a nomination. But at this time, there's no solid nominations.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
Do you believe that increasing the wage for the officer will incentivize more people to apply?
It may, and we'll need to see if anyone else applies. It's possible that the person we have will be a really good fit for this position. We'll need to do interviews and such. But if it's possible that this is the person that we decide to nominate, then this person, I don't, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think they know about the wage increase. So they went for the position with the understanding it would probably be 8. Now, when we get into the interview, that'll be explained. But so all that being said, it's possible, but if we're already close to having a nomination, depending on how the interview goes, it might be a moot point.
All righty. Collin, you're on the call. Congratulations, you're a new communications director.
Thank you.
Devin will definitely be in touch with you. You're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting or hop off, but we'll resume our meeting. So is there any other motions, or Rachel, do you have another question?
Yeah, I did. It was kind of mentioned in the document about the hours changing and how we didn't have someone for the first semester, but I was wondering if there was ever a consideration of reallocating that money back to other paid positions, or if it was like just wondering why specifically the election commissioner as opposed to any of the other execs or other paid positions.
Other paid positions, there are some other paid positions that did get an increase in hours, and those aren't required to be the election commissioner is, which is why considered in this meeting. But we reallocated whatever excess money and hours we could. to get us to a point where there's a reasonable amount of money for the next administration during the summer, but also while making sure that we're expending as much of our wages money as we can so that there's not a surplus at the end of the year. So there were other adjustments to the staff, but the one that needs to be approved by the Senate is the election commissioner wage.
Okay, follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Do you happen to know and or are able to share the amount that is in surplus for the next administration?
If you'll give me 1 sec. It was around, I think it was around 11,000. I think it's on a document somewhere, but I don't have that readily available. But that 11,000 is going to cover the president and VP for that first month, half month to a month, and it's going to be the rest of the staff. Thereabouts.
Okay, thank you.
Something like that.
All righty, Senator McDowell.
Thank you. So you briefly mentioned about reallocation of hours for other paid executives or for paid executives. And I'm just wondering if that was going to be published or, explained in a Senate meeting, or if that was just done.
So that was something that we agreed with the staff. Now that's going to be reflected in our executive policy manual, which I'm going to update today once we have Collin instated, which you already did, after the Senate meeting. I think we took allocations to 20 from 12, which is badly needed. Bella does a lot of volunteer work, and so the 20 hours was needed. Taking communications from 15 to 20 because communications needs as many hours as they can get. That was evident from this last semester. They just do a lot of work, and we need to make sure that they're able to be in the office more often. And then the chief of staff was taken to 23 hours because, again, the chief of staff does a lot. And so that covered the excess of our hours. No one else could take an increase in hours, or it was a situation where we felt like that was the best allocation of hours. And that's going to be outlined in the executive policy manual, and you'll see that updated today.
And there was no consideration of the Senate or what they thought.
Well, those hours are established by the president, which is something that we did in the summer, and that doesn't require Senate approval, so it wasn't taken before the Senate for approval. But the allocation of hours is a presidential authority.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, I think I forgot to put my hand down. I'm fine.
Alrighty, if there's no other questions, are there motions on the floor? Or we can go straight to a period of voting. No, okay. All right, we're going to a period of voting. Alrighty. Senator Brown?
Aye.
Senator McDowell?
Aye.
Senator Allen?
Aye.
Senator Lee?
Aye.
Senator Castellanos?
Aye.
Senator Gillis?
Aye.
Senator Guevara?
Aye.
Senator McFarland?
Aye.
Senator Van Voris?
Aye.
Senator M?
Aye.
Senator Cowell?
Aye.
And Senator Schulte?
Aye.
It was a unanimous vote. The election commissioner's wage is now $9.25. Stated in the document. Awesome. Let's go to the next item on the agenda, which is F 2021 B7, Student Government Association seal. Let me have that pulled up for y'all. And that was introduced by Devin, Matthew No, and then Chief of Staff Casey Jimenez. Devin, whenever you're ready.
Okay. F 2021 B7, the Student Government Association seal. Whereas the Student Government Association is undergoing structural changes with the formation of the Commission on SGA Governing Documents, whereas the seal developed by the Cara Thomas administration, which is used to this day, has some pixelation and elemental issues. Whereas the Skinner Munoz-Sarabia administration sees this period of change in the Student Government Association as the ideal opportunity to update our branding and image. Whereas Matthew No, the former SGA communications director, had worked with his communication team and other members of the SGA to gather input and develop the seal, which is professional and reflective of our mission as an organization. Let it be resolved that the updated seal as attached to this document serve as the new official seal of the Student Government Association and be affixed to all official documentation of the association and used as appropriate in any other format as deemed appropriate by the President or the Senate of the SGA. Let it be further resolved that the SGA website be updated to reflect the new seal and to update any information regarding the new seal. Respectfully submitted, Devin Skinner, SGA President, Matthew Knows, UNT student, and Casey Jimenez, SGA Chief of Staff. And then there's an Appendix A, which David will show you, and that's a comparison of the seal. The left is the current seal, and the right is the proposed updated seal.
Alrighty. Is there any motions on the floor? Senator Van Boris.
I motion we move to a period of questioning.
All right. Is there a second?
Senator
McDowell.
Allen seconds.
Awesome. All right, Sophia, you have the first question.
So say we vote in favor of this and we change the seal, isn't that going to require like funding to change the seal on our shirts, our name tags, our, et cetera? How's that going to play out?
So the seal is going to be used moving forward. So anything that's been created with the old seal will stay. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think our name tags have the logo on them, not the seal, so we don't have to worry about the name tags. But anything else that would have our seal on it, I don't think there is much of anything, if at all. But if there is, it would keep the old image until we get something else that has a seal, and then we would use the new seal.
Any other questions or motions on the floor?
I'm sorry, I had another part to that answer real quick. When it comes to documentation, any of our old documentation that has the old seal will keep the old seal. Moving forward, like with agendas and other stuff like that, you'll see the new seal on it if the Senate so approves.
All righty. Senator Cowell, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, if the seal was changed, how soon would we have like new templates for minutes and legislation and stuff like that?
That's probably a question for David, because that's like the legislation Senate side of templates. As far as the executive templates are concerned, for anything that we use, that's something I would be trying to get done this week. But David might be able to answer your question better when it comes to Senate templates.
Yes, for any Senate stuff, it'll be ready before our first meeting in the spring, which is, I believe, hopefully the 26th. And I'll make sure that it's available on Teams, and I'll share it with y'all. Alrighty, Senator Lee.
If no one else has anything, I motion that we move to a period of voting.
I object.
Alrighty. Senator Van Boris, your hand is raised. You're recognized.
I just had one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, before I ask, can you pull up the appendix attached?
Of course I can.
Okay, so is the background of this new seal just going to be white?
Sorry, my mic was muted. We have a transparent logo. Also, the benefit with this is the left one is I think it's a JPEG. The right one is an SVG, which is a vector file. And so we have a transparent vector file, which can be used for just the outline. We also, I believe, we have the one with the white background as well if we need it. But the seal is the outline, but it can also have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Senator McDowell.
Yeah, just to add on, I don't know if the picture, if the Zoom or Teams shows it really well, but it's actually very well resolved compared to the other one, which is very pixelated when you zoom in. But my question was just to confirm that Matthew No still wants to sponsor this document.
Matthew had given us permission to use his name at the time that the legislation was made. We didn't want to take it off without his input. But as he was the person who made the seal, we wanted to make sure that he received credit for the work that he was doing on the seal. And so that's
okay.
Alrighty, any other questions or motions? Senator Gillis.
Senator Gillis motions that we go to a period of voting.
Is there a second?
McDowell seconds.
Is there any objections? If not, alrighty. Senator Brown.
Aye.
Senator McDowell.
Aye.
Senator Allen.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Castellanos.
Aye.
Senator Gillis.
Aye.
God. Senator Guevara.
Aye.
Senator McFarland.
Aye.
Senator Bonvoris.
Aye.
Senator M.
Aye.
Senator Cowell.
Aye.
And Senator Schulte.
Aye.
All right, it is passed unanimously. We have a new seal for the SGA. Awesome. All righty, I don't think now it's time for announcements. I don't think I have any. I do hope everyone has a great break. Please enjoy it. If you're having any winter semester classes, yikes, cannot be you. But again, our first meeting for the spring will be on the 26th. So we do return back on the 18th. So that first week is off, and then we'll resume on the 26th of January. If there's no other announcements or business, I adjourn this meeting at 1:56 p.m. And the meeting is adjourned. Let me stop the recording.
Thanks, y'all.